literally you were screwed, and now you're figuratively screwed by being forced to have a baby. Or you can go out to the great golden state of California and go get an abortion. Yes, you can. That's where the privilege kicks in. Go take your EPT test, go out to California and go sit in the chair and go get an abortion in that democratically elected state of California where Gavin Newsom is still the governor. But we do have a Republican a black Republican that's kind of trying to keep up on this, that's trying to creep up on this vote recall, whatever they're calling it. But anyway, right now you can get an abortion in California. There are some other states that where abortion is legal, but it's still a little bit restrictive. And I'm going to tell you, let me see, I'm going to make this easy for you. If you already know the 11 states, that the unrestricted states are Alaska and, not very many actually. Alaska, New Mexico, I believe that might be Vermont. I'm looking on this map and I don't know all the states by heart. They're just doing the color pictures and I don't know why they didn't just click it to where I could actually see the name of the state. Anyway, 27 states require women to be told about the risk of the abortion, many of which are medically inaccurate. 25 require women to be given information about the specific procedure they're going to experience. 31 states require the woman to be told the gestational age of the fetus, like scare them into saying, no, I don't want it. 27 states require the woman to be told about fetal development throughout the pregnancy. 13 states require the woman to hear about the ability of a fetus to feel pain. That's a new one. I never knew about that. And 5 states require the woman to be told personhood begins at conception. I think personhood is a word that was made up by the Republicans that just want to be in your panties and in your bedroom and not be in your household when it comes to actually paying for the child that's brought into the world. So let's call some of these men to the carpet. We must think that in today's reality of 2021, women are not getting pregnant by themselves unless some immaculate conception like Mary and Jesus. But I mean, I don't think that's happening nowadays. These babies are being conceived when they're through rape or incest by some man who is a sexual predator. And so why not let that sexual predator male, why shouldn't, if at the time the woman is seeking an abortion and there's a fetal heartbeat, why not make it an extra rule that you have to provide the name of the male who is the presumed father of the child? And at that very moment, that male must immediately take ownership interest in that would-be personhooded child who y'all now think is a healthy human at the time of a heartbeat at 6 weeks, and start paying for every single thing 100%, or let the state of Texas pay for all prenatal care for every woman who they are forcing not to get an abortion for a child that they do not want, whether it's for their own personal health reasons, like if I have the baby, I will die, or the baby is my daddy's because he raped me, or the baby is my brother's because we've been having a sexual relationship that was inappropriate and he's been raping me, or that the baby belongs to my uncle, or that baby belongs to somebody on some basketball team from far away because I got gang raped at a college party. Any of those instances, the woman should say who the alleged fathers are, put all of their names down, and have those names posted in public on the state of Texas website and say these men must immediately start paying child support, whether or not we have a confirmation of whether you are the actual father, because that confirmation can only be gotten by a DNA test or blood swab after the baby comes out. But because it's being alleged, that should be just enough in the state of Texas, since you're forcing these women to have a baby that they don't want in the first place. So Texas, why don't you step the F up? Step up your family game, step up your financial game, and step your finances up to start paying for these women who you are forcing to have these babies that they do not want. And then go ahead and pay for the mental anguish that they're going to be put through by giving them a lifetime of therapy for both them and their child, and for the fathers. Now, let's go ahead and harken back to some of these stories that we heard back in the days of athletes trying to have the baby mama who is forcing them to be a daddy. They were having their kids, the murders, murdered, so they wouldn't have to pay child support when they had millions of dollars. So we had that one basketball player up in North Carolina, I think he had the lady, he was having his baby mama who was pregnant, who was in a car, and had a hitman come up and kill her while she was in the car and shoot her up, and she died, and she said, I've been shot. And so what happens? That man went to prison. But there are so many men out there. Men, why are you not out there trying to protect a woman's right to have an abortion when y'all are the ones giving them pregnant in the first place? Y'all are the ones who say, I don't want that kid. For every man that said he didn't want to pay child support, You need to be paying child support. For every woman out there who said, I didn't want to have this baby and I can't afford this baby, the state of Texas needs to waive every man's child support payment that was forced to have a baby with a woman where he did not want to have the baby. There should be no more child support paid by a daddy to a mama when neither parent wanted to have the child. The child support should be paid by the state of Texas to both of those parents for forcing them into parenthood when they did not want to be parents. Sometimes the condom breaks. Sometimes it has a hole. Sometimes you get pregnant anyway. Sometimes the IUD doesn't work. Sometimes you get raped. Sometimes you get incestualized. You know I made up that word. But sometimes all those events happen in adults' worlds. Or sometimes you happen to be a homeless woman sleeping on the street that was raped. And now you walking around with a baby in your belly and you can't even figure out how you're going to eat from day to day. And then you get raped while you're sleeping on the curb. And now the state of Texas said, we're not going to give you any shelter and provide the person who's actually in the world a place to live. We're not going to give you any government assistance to find you some housing on a permanent basis, but we will force you to have that newborn child and live homeless on the street along with you and probably the dog that you have on the corner with you where you're trying to beg for money, saying I'm pregnant, begging for money, I need food for me and my dog. The state of Texas should pay for all the homeless women that are pregnant. They should pay the child support for all these men who have to be forced into having a baby with a woman that they don't even like. They might have just liked her for sex, but why should they have her forever? And for all these women who are incestuized or pedophile or whatever you call it, they should all have the state of Texas pay from the rainy day. They have a rainy day fund that's got over $6 billion in it. Let the rainy day fund pay for all the child support checks that are going to be going out. Because guess what? All these baby mama dramas, all of these new baby mamas that the state of Texas is complaining of, all these unwed mothers, you're creating more unwed mothers because state of Texas, guess what? When you force a woman to have a baby with a man that she doesn't even like, a baby that she doesn't even want, and the man doesn't want the baby or the woman either, it just makes for worse and worse family problems, and you're making more family units that are starting off on the wrong foot. Come on, somebody. Do I have a preacher in the building that can say sometimes you need to call on God and say, Lord, help the state of Texas try to get it right, because right now, if there's a baby in the world, the last thing we want is these women giving their own selves abortions. And that's exactly what we had in the 70s before abortion was legal in the 60s. Women that are going to be committing suicide. You're going to have these people trying to give their own abortions. You're going to have these men trying to kill these women because they're being forced to have the abortions. I wouldn't be surprised if you had some men trying to tell baby, lay back and let me go ahead and slip this hanger inside of you, try to give you an abortion myself because you and I don't want the baby. Or they're going to be taking a whole bunch of pills trying to kill themselves thinking that's going to kill the baby. They're going to end up killing both of them. It's going to be a whole lot of shenanigans coming on. Everything that you saw in this one movie from a long time ago, and then I got to wrap up. There was a movie called If These Walls Could Talk. It was like a movie that talked about a house where all of the women, before abortion became legal and became the law of the land, about everything that this house saw in these walls. And it was a house where a woman was on an abortion table and a doctor came in with a whole bunch of tools that looked like they were dirty in this little bag with no anesthesia and gave the woman an abortion on her kitchen table and she bled out. Then there was another, it had various stories of women. If These Walls Could Talk, you need to go ahead and look at that movie. You Republicans out there in the state of Texas, I'm coming for you. What I'm going to do from now moving forward is I'm going to go ahead and blast you all. I'm going to get the names of the people who voted for it. And we're going to figure out a way for these state reps to go ahead and be called to the carpet so people can know where you live. And when they need some Pampers, maybe they need to send you a text. Maybe you need to start stacking up your loot so you can start paying for these babies that are unwanted. We got a foster care system that's overrun, that's underfunded. How dare you try to stick more babies in there? How can you force these women to go ahead and produce a child? I'm so upset. If you couldn't already tell, I'm so mad. Let me go ahead and sign off. We got to go ahead and sign off. It's going to be more for you next week when we have the anniversary, the September 11th shenanigans. We're going to talk about that. And I'm sorry, but this is also the 20-year anniversary of the war in Iraq. Think about the war. Think about the war on women at home in Texas. Think about the war on voting rights. And think about the new streets and everything that you're going to get that President Biden and the Democrats up in Congress thought was so important, that we have roads and bridges, but now we have no voting rights and women have to have babies they don't want. Bye, everybody. Have a great week. Be safe and love each other. There it is. Boom! You know what? Listen, if this was my family, it could be my family. It could be, listen, my daughter could be like, oh my God, mommy, I'm pregnant. Oh, well, we're not having that one. How old are you? 13? Oh no. See? Because some mommies, this is where privilege comes in. Privileged mommy can say this. Okay, well, we're going to be flying. We're going to take a private jet to California, go get a smush and bring our butts back to Texas where they're still up here in the Wild Wild West. We're not going to let the state of Texas force us into making a family decision that's lifelong, a lifelong, permanent family decision. Lifelong. For when you have a baby, you can't take them back. If for some reason you're able to take your baby back, that's called murder. Okay? That's called giving up for adoption, putting him in the foster care system, leaving him at the... There were so many problems with women who could not afford an abortion because they were either too poor or they didn't have the means. And when Texas started coming with all these rules that you got to get permission, these 13 and 14 and 15-year-old girls who were getting raped and didn't want to have these kids, they didn't even know they were pregnant. They didn't even know. So at the end of the day, they need help. And you know what? These state legislatures, they need to be replaced. And you people out there that are running, y'all better run to win in Texas, because guess what? The Republicans are coming, baby. And they're trying to set you back to 1877. They're trying to put black people back in handcuffs permanently, which are called slave shackles. They're trying to send every person of Latin descent back over to the border where they don't even know the people in Mexico because they haven't been there for a lifetime. They're trying to undo DACA. Now they're trying to dismantle life as we know it. And the freedoms that women have had for 50 years, men have now taken them away in Texas. Guess what? It's an affront to the poor people. It's an affront to the people that don't have privilege. But it will not affect those amongst us who have a dollar. And guess what? And since they're saying if you're aiding and abetting somebody who wants an abortion, I'm probably going to get arrested a few times in the next couple of years, because guess what? I'm probably going to get a bus. If you think you're pregnant and you don't know it for sure, I'm going to have a bus waiting for you to go over to another state so you can go get an abortion. Because guess what? Right next door, New Mexico, abortion is all the way legal with no type of restraints at all. You can't get to Alaska, but you can get to New Mexico. We may have to go all the way over to El Paso and cross over the border, walk over there, get an abortion, and come back. Don't let Texas tell you how to run your life. Move to another state. Bye, Texas. Boom.